What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise live here on a Monday. Today, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming with Eric Brandt back in the house. I wish I had a soundboard queued up. I'd give you a little golf clap, a little round of applause. Or maybe I'd play the soundboard item we have in our Discord with us reacting to getting into the top four of the 2023 draft lottery. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can join our Discord and go to a voice chat and click on all the soundboard items. There's some fun ones in there. But today, man, we're going to get into kind of the stuff that you missed, Eric, because you missed a decent amount of stuff. You missed a new owner. You missed a new schedule. And then we're also going to kind of start to talk about trades because it's never too early to talk about trades, right? So, like, what trades could we be looking at, especially with a new owner in tow? Hopefully ratified by the trade deadline. We'll see. But first, how was your vacation, considering you've been away for 2.5 weeks, which feels like 2 months?
Yeah, it was long but very fun. Good family trip. Yeah, had a lot of memorable experiences and got to meet one Rich Finley when I was down in LA, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, how was that?
Good. So we hung out one night when I got down there, and then actually woke up early one morning and went to his gym, and we played horse slash pig. And this dude hadn't, or he claims he hadn't shot a basketball in like 3 years, but like he was like incredibly money, and yeah, it was
Did he beat you?
quite the shooter. I mean, I won the first game. I was feeling pretty good, and then he like didn't miss a single shot the rest of the day. So yeah, he beat me.
Yeah, I think he's lying to you about not picking up a ball for 3 years.
Yeah, probably.
That's what That's what Rich would do. It's a joke. He's actually been out here shooting. But man, I'm hoping that if he's beating you in pig, that he is good to start churning out some more content over on Rip City Retro. Always love what Rich has over there. We have 4 months until Christmas. Now's the time to start preparing. Although all his fodder for his last Christmas song is kind of dead. He has to come up with some new material. He has no Ayton. The Blazers might actually be decent this year. So Jody's going away. So I don't even know what he'd make songs about at this point.
Right. Yeah, but no, he's able to shoot around a little bit, but still kind of limited otherwise. But yeah, it was good to finally meet him in person. It was like meeting or seeing an old friend. It didn't feel like meeting for the first time. But I'm happy to be back and missed all of you guys as well. How have your couple weeks been, Tori?
Yeah, so I'm finally not wearing glasses, which is cool. Even though I didn't get the clear go ahead to wear contacts again. So, in case you don't know, I had eye issues a month ago and after 2 weeks, they were like, "Yeah, your eye's healed, but it's dry, so you should wait 2 more weeks." And I was just like, and then come back to us, and I'm like, "Oh, another $100 copay? No, thank you. If my eye's just dry, I will risk it." It's just kind of wild to me. So, although I've been embracing the glasses look for half a day, so maybe when I'm feeling like I want to give off a more I don't know, a different look, a different vibe, I got glasses I can pull out now, so that's cool. But other than that, man, it's just been some fun news in Blazerland. Fun to have the schedule come out. Fun to have the new ownership and read into that and talk about that. Fun to have football right around the corner. We got a sponsor right around the corner coming in September, so preparing for that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, just kind of waiting. August 18th, and we're a month and a half until preseason. So I've already planned out all next season. I've been planning stuff for the channel, which is fun, and just kind of ready to get things started. I'm kind of itching for basketball to be here at this point. So, hopefully these next 2 months fly by because I'm ready to go pretty much at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we're in that dead time, but also feels like the season's going to be here before we know it, and is fast approaching.
You know what makes me realize that it's going to be here before we know it? So I don't know if anybody out there watching this kind of resonates with this, but like at the end of last season, I felt like it was only like a couple weeks ago where we were waiting for the season to start. And last season flew by faster than maybe any season, I feel like. And I don't know if that's because I was here or why, but it was like a blink of an eye to me more so than any other season. So I don't know if anybody else relates to that, but that's how I felt. This offseason feels like it's gone on forever. It really does. And it's just strange. Like this offseason feels like it's the longest offseason ever, and last season felt like it was the shortest season ever. So I don't know if that's because of some of the news that we got this offseason. You know, Dame coming back a month ago, that feels like 3 months ago to me. So I guess my sense of time is off. Maybe that means I'm just getting a little old. I don't know what that means, but I'm ready for the season to start. I'm tired of this offseason already. Not to say it's been a bad offseason. It's been a good offseason. It's been a lot of good things have happened this offseason. I'm feeling hopeful and I'm believing again, but I'm ready for it to be done.
Brody says it's because the team has something to look forward to.
I think that's part of it.
So you're like more excited, like because
yeah.
The last couple of years, like going into it, we knew it was going to be kind of a tanking season or whatever, and then last year, we have some surprising stretches where we're actually kind of competitive and good. So that helped make the season go by faster. And then now we have expectations. And then it's weird because if you would have told me we would have such big stories to talk about this offseason, I would say it would go by pretty fast, right? And we'd have we have ownership situation to talk about in August. Like that would have been perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have planned that out better to be like, okay, in August where there's nothing to talk about, let's drop this new ownership thing on us. And then in addition to, talking about the team and the schedule and all the normal things, we got that nugget that you got to have a special stream about and stuff like that. So it seems weird that we've had so many big storylines this offseason, yet it does seem like it's just dragging by.
Yeah. Well, I think part of this offseason was a lot of storylines kind of got buried or came to a conclusion in a way. Like from everything from when will Jody ever sell the team to will Dame ever come back to Anthony versus Scoot, like all over the place, to even down to like what does the new TV package look like? We got that answer with 8 p.m. start times. We'll get your thoughts on the schedule and those 8 p.m. start times because I know you're itching to start a post-game stream at 10:30 in the evening on a weeknight. But it's just like it felt like a lot of storylines coming to a close. DeAndre Ayton and that debacle of a 2-year tenure here. Like I hated the DeAndre Ayton tenure here, and I've made no secrets about that. It was almost like there's so many conclusions to storylines that normally we don't get a lot of answers in off seasons, at least the past couple. We got a ton of answers this offseason. So now it's just like, now we just wait. We're just waiting to see what comes of it this season. There's been a ton of storylines to talk about, but now it's almost like there isn't as many, This time last year, we were talking a lot about Jeremy Grant trades. Like that storyline, I think got answered this offseason too. Like he is absolutely a negative contract or else he wouldn't be here. So we can sit here and talk about, oh, will they actually start Jeremy Grant ahead of both the young guards as much as we want to? But like, we'll have time for that, and that's more of a media day type of thing. So that was the fun thing about this offseason, was that we actually got some answers. We actually had some questions that didn't linger to this point. New ownership, that wasn't even something that lingered. After it was announced that Jody Allen, Burt Cold, Vulcan Company were selling the team for Paul Allen's estate, it was like, okay, so this is going to hover over the organization's head going into the season. That's not even happening. It's August. Yeah. Already got the new owner like all but confirmed. They have to go through the board of governors and do that whole process. But man, it's just a weird offseason in that regard. But it's been fun to see these storylines come to conclusion. Now it just makes me itching. And you're right. I think it's being so excited for the season. I'm more excited for the season than any that I've had covering the team. So I'm very antsy. And just ready to get going with things. So we still got a month and a half. I'm going to enjoy, I guess, 8 p.m. sunsets here in the Northwest. The daylight being long. I don't know. The temperatures being above 70 degrees. And I guess I'm trying to enjoy prepping for my fantasy football draft coming up. Our fantasy football draft coming up. That's really where I'm at right now. So if you're in chat, let me know how you feel right now going into next season compared to off seasons prior, because it's a completely different feeling for me.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't think the ownership thing would be. I mean, they were saying like could be 18 months or so before it's figured out. So the fact that it was, I mean, when was that announced? That
May? It was right after the draft lottery. It was mid-May.
Because we were all disappointed. Yeah.
So it took 3 months.
Less than 3 months later, we already have that.
Yeah.
I mean, all but resolved. Yeah, we'll get more into that later. I do think, touching on one thing I missed, I didn't even really hear you talk about it that much, if at all. But did you talk about the Jrue Holiday press conference / whatever that was?
Did I? I don't remember talking about it either. Like, that was one of those.
You didn't have a stream that day, like that first Thursday. You didn't have a stream, and then you said you were gonna maybe do it Friday, and then you never did it, and then I think you kind of forgot about it or something.
Honestly, I didn't have much to say. Yeah. Like, I don't mean this as an insult at all. It was just the most kind of generic press conference. It's like kind of what I expected. He's not going to say anything that's controversial. He's going to be a professional, and like, there wasn't anything even all that insightful into the press conference. It was kind of just like on the back of Dame. I don't think it helped coming right after Dame's, where we were super interested in everything that everyone had to say and the questions that were being asked about Damian Lillard not being a Joe Cronin fan with Cronin sitting right next to him. So compared to that, it was just very mundane. So I didn't even have anything to really say about any of his answers. Was there anything that piqued your curiosity or your interest with anything that he said? Because it didn't for me.
There wasn't like a specific thing he said that piqued my interest, but the overall sense I got from it was that I think he expects to be the starting point guard, or at least in the starting backcourt. I don't know if you got that same feeling, but I kind of feel like he's coming here to be part of the thing.
I mean, I think he's going to play like 30 minutes a game as a starter or off the bench. I would say, like, I don't think he's necessarily thinking about that yet. He doesn't seem like the type of guy to me that's like going to think about that much yet. Like, he's just coming in. He knows he's going to play a big role. That's that. Like, I don't know what conversations he's had with the front office. And, you know, we know he's going to play a big role. So how much does a vet like that, 35 years old, a professional, like, how much does he care about starting versus coming off the bench if he's playing 30 minutes a game and being paid even more money than that? 35 million or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm sure it matters a bit to him, but I feel like his mindset's just coming in to mentor guys. He's already working out with Scoot this offseason with Chris Johnson. I don't know if you've seen that YouTube video. But yeah, so he's working out with Scoot, so that's cool to see. Yeah, like I don't know. I didn't really. I felt like his answers were just kind of the answers that didn't really give me any insight or make me feel anything. So
the other thing that was kind of weird was him talking about playing with Dame this year. Even it felt like saying, "Hey, you do know that Dame's up."
Yeah, he definitely really wants to play with Dame. Like, the biggest storyline now is what does the backcourt look like when Dame comes back, I think. And the two biggest storylines surrounding the organization beyond just like how they play next season is that, and then the whole Moda Center thing, like new arena or Moda Center renovations, like what's the next step there with the new owner coming in. Those are the two biggest storylines now that are kind of new to talk about long term. So yeah, I don't know. I think this season is really important to figure out the answer to the first question. We're not going to know what the answers to the second question are for a while. But I think like this year sets up perfectly to be a either breakout year for Scoot and or Sharp, or a year that the Blazers feel more comfortable trying to cash them in on the trade market to try and take a swing, which is why I wanted to bring up the topic of like who's the most likely Blazer to be traded. We'll talk about that. Won't spend too long on it, but we'll talk about it because, you know, I think that's a big question with the new owner coming in too. Is like, is he gonna be super aggressive? He's a pretty hands-on owner, so. Yeah, just some thoughts that I've had, man. This is the time of year where like I kind of ruminate on this stuff. So, happy to have you here to talk about the ownership and the new schedule. We can start off with whatever you want, though.
Well, just touching upon the guard situation, I thought about this a lot, like while I was gone. It really does feel like they're hoping, you know, obviously that Scoot becomes the guy and that this is his team moving forward with, you know, Dame helping out as much as possible when he can. And, you know, Sharp obviously as good as he can be as well. But it does feel like having Dame and Jrue also kind of hedges against if they don't feel like those guys took the next step. You know, we know Sharp's coming. If he doesn't sign an extension in the next month and a half, he'll be, or I guess he has two and a half months. He'll be a restricted free agent most likely that following off season, and then you get into extension talks with Scoot that off season as well in 2026. So, yeah.
It does feel like they gave themselves multiple options going forward out of this offseason, which I thought was a good thing. Like, it's going to take some time to figure out which option's the best, and that's what next season is for. But, like, without the Dame move, it was kind of like, yeah, all your eggs are in the Sharp and Scoot basket. Now it's like, all right, well, can you trade one of those guys for somebody? Plus, could Dame be good enough where that team could make a little bit of noise? Also, when you look ahead to the future, they added another future first-round pick, an unprotected 2028 Orlando pick. Like, we expect that to be in the 20s, but who knows? Worst-case scenario for them, that could be a pick that's in the lottery. So, having that going forward, also, like, the Bucks with the position they put themselves in, I think they are it almost feels like they're kind of digging their grave potentially with, you know, cutting Dame and then giving that much money to Miles Turner, and you're still stuck with Kuzma. They have no assets. So with those picks coming down the line, it feels better than it did at the start of the offseason in terms of like the Blazers having multiple viable paths that they can maybe branch off of. But also I think a big thing for me is having the new ownership makes me a little bit more confident in them, A, choosing the right path, and B, like, having more options that they could make work in their favor, whereas with the old ownership group, I didn't have that confidence where they would have any sort of cohesive plan from the top down and would hold themselves to a high enough standard. And I guess that's a perfect segue to the ownership. I guess we can touch upon that. But like with Tom Dundon coming in and what he did with the Carolina Hurricanes, that's been something where, you know, if Scoot and Sharp don't pan out, like a good organization figures out how to move beyond that. Whereas I feel like a Jody Allen, Burt Cole, Joe Cronin organization, if those guys like didn't pan out in the fullest, it was going to be like, oh, at least we got a play-in game, you know, and then next year, oh, at least we got an 8 seed. It doesn't feel like it's going to be the same attitude under this guy. Of course, I could be wrong. We have to see how he runs the team, but it feels like it's going to be held to that higher standard. So that's like the good long-term feelings I got out of this offseason.
Yeah, and everything that Tom Dundon is about when it comes to owning, like it felt a lot like when Chauncey came in and said all the right things. You just hope that that's truly what he's about, and from everything, like you said, based on his ownership of the Carolina Panthers, or not the Carolina Panthers,
Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina Hurricanes. Sorry. It seems like that is the case, but when he talks about wanting the fans' experience to be top notch and things like that, that truly is something that is breathtaking to hear because um I mean, let's be honest, it has felt for a long time as a Blazer fan that this ownership and this organization wants to do just enough to keep you happy,
Yeah.
not doesn't want you to be happy. They want you to be just happy enough to be okay with what they're doing.
Mhm.
And it seems like he wants you to be happy as a fan to improve that experience. You talked about that, about wanting to have your game day experience be a really good thing, and the fact that he's already talking about that or mentioning that as something he is all about is really exciting. And so
Well,
hopefully,
I'll add to this too. He has a track record of doing that because he's investing $1 billion into the area around the stadium for the Carolina Hurricanes. So,
yeah,
like, that's a
yeah,
nice thing, compared to Chauncey coming in with no track record. Like, as a
mhm,
coach and saying all the right things, he's saying all the right things, but his actions have kind of backed it up. So he has that track record, which just makes me feel more confident in what he's saying.
exactly. And so you couple that with he obviously wants to win
Yeah.
in Carolina, so you would think owning this team, he'd want to build a winner here as well. So you would think him coming in, he'll want to build upon this and not have the goal just to be to make the playoffs this next year, like it seemed was the current goal with the
Yeah.
organization. So it feels like we might actually have a plan towards building towards something that's sustainable as well, and that's exactly what he did with this hockey team, is built a team that year in and year out is competitive and contending. So it's exciting to have that in an ownership, or a potential new owner. And so yeah, it's really cool that it seems like it's going to do things now. You mentioned something earlier as the second biggest storyline moving forward, and that's what they do with the new arena. So is that something he's going to come in and just improve that on his own, or is that going to be something that becomes a sticking point at some some you know point down the road? That's yet to be seen. But it seems like, I mean, he wants what's best for this team, and you hear things like their intention is to keep the team in Portland. Now I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, so I'm not like, oh yes, he said he was intending to keep the team. That means uh, it's going to happen. But I do feel like he's not from Seattle. He's not from Las Vegas, so he's not like, I don't think we have to worry about him potentially moving the teams there. And it does seem like he's coming in with the intention on making it work in Portland. And then you combine that with everything else we've talked about in the past with um, the NBA, in our opinions, seemingly not what they might be posturing to make sure Portland gets the best possible arena, which I think is what's happening. But I just find it hard to believe they just rip a team out of Portland after what they did to Seattle um, when that happened. So I think, and then you hear that there's some potential uh, other people involved that are Portland people. So I think it's got enough support here that I don't think it's going anywhere, but it's definitely something to follow. And I was happy to seemingly be. I think at the very least he will do everything to keep it in Portland. If it doesn't work out, I guess it wasn't meant to be. But I think he's coming into it with the mindset this is the Portland Trailblazers. They're going to stay in Portland.
Agreed. And I mean, cherry on top is he inherited a hockey team with all these relocation rumors and didn't relocate them and extended their lease through 2044. So he already has a track record of being in a position where he probably could have moved a team in a city that he's not from, and he keeps them there and doubles their valuation and locks them down in that city. So as far as a track record for an owner, this is about as good of a track record as I feel like somebody could have coming in. And is good of a, like to get people to stop worrying about the team moving. And like, I don't know if I could have picked a better owner. Of course, it would be nice to have Jeff Bezos money to just screw the luxury tax. Like, you know what I mean? That wouldn't even be a conversation anymore. It'd just be, all right, should we be in the second apron another year? But I mean, Jeff Bezos, like, who knows if he knows how to own a sports franchise and run one, right? Like, he doesn't have that experience. We have no idea. Tom Dundon has done a good job doing that before. So hard to come up with like a better owner coming in off the top of my head. Of course, like I didn't know this guy before this. I didn't pay attention to the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't pay attention much to the NHL because Portland doesn't have a team. But yeah, I think it's great stuff, and I'm just excited to have somebody that I know cares about winning. Because that's the one biggest takeaway I think too for me is he struggles going to games because he hates watching his teams lose. And he's like on the phone with the league office, like asking about the CBA and like, you know what I mean? He's like super invested. And people say he's super competitive. And if you've watched the channel since its inception, how many times have I gone off about like wanting this organization to be competitive and not just settle for mediocrity and not just settle for being like, oh, we're good enough to hopefully get a couple extra games after the season to make a play. And like, I hate that attitude. So to have an owner that I feel like aligns with that compared to the past ownership group, which it felt like didn't align with that at all, is huge for me. It makes me feel good about wanting to hold this organization to that standard because we have somebody coming in that I also think is going to hold this organization to that standard and aligns with me on that, compared to people telling me I'm too negative because I want this team to be good and I want this team to be a contender, and people telling me I'm too negative when I have a problem with everybody celebrating winning 36 games because they had a good 11-game stretch. We're like, yeah, it was a good development last season, but it's just the first of many steps. So I think, long story short, it's a good attitude to have from somebody running the team because you're not just going to settle for just good enough. You want to be great. And that, I think, will boil down to the moves the franchise makes. I think some of the, trades, like, the front office is going to have to justify moves and like justify a legitimate plan to reaching contention and like take the right steps along the way. Where with Jody and Burt, it was almost just like, yeah, dude, they just want to play in game. That's their end goal. And who knows how much Burt is meddling with these moves just to try and get them to the play-in. If an owner's going to meddle with moves and stuff, like if his goal is a championship, I don't really want them meddling too much. I want them to let the front office do their job. But if their goal is a championship, that's better than an ownership group that's meddling if their goal is just to make a play-in, because then you're going to make moves just to try and get to the play-in or get to an 8 seed, get to a 7 seed, instead of trying to get to contention long term. So just going to be nice to have a fresh set of eyes and just a fresh attitude from the top down that I think he's going to bring.
And hopefully this isn't wishful thinking, but it seems like he's super.
Oh, collab cam. Wishful thinking for me would be for Collab Cam to stop doing this to... Hold on. You got Collab Cammed. You said wishful thinking, and then you got Collab Cammed. So I don't know if
you're... Am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I hope this isn't wishful thinking, but I feel like he is going to be the type of person who is involved with the team. There was a NBC, a local NBC guy who said he talked to Mark Cuban, and Cuban said that Tom Dundon knows basketball or whatever, and we'll see if that's the case or not. But it feels like what I've read with the Panthers, or I keep saying the Panthers, the Hurricanes, is that he's involved, really involved, wants to win, wants to be competitive, but also, puts people in a position to succeed without basically being like, no, we're going to throw away all our draft picks and do it this way. I want to win right this second, and that's kind of the Ishbia thing. And now, would we have liked an owner like that over a current situation? Sure, but it does seem like he's more calculated with it. Doesn't just want to, trade everything to win right away if it doesn't make sense. He wants to build something, like I said, that was sustainable, and that's encouraging. And hopefully, this is something that we can be excited about every year, talking about how, like you said, this guy wants to win just as badly as some of us fans, including both of us, want to win.
Yep. So now, the last phase of this process is going to be like what happens with the arena. So I've read some people online, like, I have not been to another NBA game. I've only been to Blazer games, right? And like, I've seen multiple people talk about like, oh yeah, I thought Moda was fine, and then I went to other arenas and was like, oh, these are so much better. So I'm currently planning a trip to go down to California, go see the Warriors host the Blazers on November 21st. That's a Friday. Stay down there through like Wednesday because it's Thanksgiving week. Stay down there through Wednesday, and in that time see the Lakers versus the Clippers at Staples, and then see a Kings game in Sacramento, and just go to a few different stadiums, as well as see the Niners play the Panthers in Santa Clara on Monday Night Football. So that'd be cool because I've never been there. So like, just go down and experience just other stadiums, other places. I know the Niner Stadium's cookie cutter, so I'm not really going to take that into account. But I want to see like the Warriors Arena, Lakers Arena, Kings Arena, just to actually get that experience of going to other games. Now, I know like one is Staples Center, and then the other two are brand new, so of course they're probably going to be nicer because they're more modern. But
Crypto, you mean?
Crypto, Staples Center, Crypto. Yes, sorry, Crypto Arena. Because I think the conversation is going to just grow louder with Moda Center. I think there's kind of two things to me with Moda Center. One is like the concourse. It's just a giant piece of concrete, it feels like. So like concourse remodeling, like I think the seats are nice. They put in some new seats, like they're putting in new video boards, right? So I think like the concourse is number one. Like doing a full scale remodel and just making that nicer. And then the second thing is just the area. The area especially, that's what I'm interested just to see with these other arenas. The area around Moda, this isn't new. There's nothing around Moda at all. The tough thing with Moda is it's just tucked into a corner between the river, railroad tracks, and I-5, where I don't know how you do much around Moda Center. Like, theoretically it'd be nice to put a cap above I-5 and then have that land to do a little something, and it'd be great to have a huge parking garage instead of the Portland Public Schools building, and then you could demolish the parking garages that are a little closer and put something in there. Like, that would be great in theory, but, how much does that cost? Is it just easier to get a new arena at that point? I don't know. I don't know what the costs on that are. They're not going to tear down Veterans Memorial Coliseum because it's a designated historical landmark or whatever it is. So I think that's the next conversation we're going to end up having is just like, how do they improve around Moda Center, especially bringing in an owner who's spending $1 billion to do so around the Carolina Hurricanes arena. It's just like, what is even really possible for them to do around Moda with where it sits and all that. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting conversation, though.
Yeah, well, right down the road is a fledgling. I know they're opening a music venue there, but they have the Lloyd Center, which is a complete disaster right now. And then we have in between there and the Moda Center, the Albina District, which Phil Knight's putting in a ton of money to try and jumpstart that back area back up into being nicer. And so you have that whole stretch, and we have already the Max line that runs right through both of those areas. So there are a lot of things you could do in that area. Maybe you just move the arena down the road and tear down Lloyd Center and put it right there. But yeah, I don't know. You got to get creative, but there is a ton you can do with that area.
The tough thing is, though, I feel like for it to be like in a arena experience, like a round arena experience, you can't have a major interstate separating it from, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because you really only have like 2 underpasses to go from the arena to Albina District, and a lot of people, they're not going to want to go under an underpass. Like, I don't know. It's not ideal. So, like, that's why, yeah, it'd be great to give I-5 an extra lane both ways in that area and put a cap on it and connect the Moda Center to that area, but
they were planning on doing that, but that just got...
I know. Yeah, they don't. So, that's where I think, like, they're stuck. Because, yeah, it'd be great to have that area, but you got a major interstate separating. So that's why, like, when I say it's tucked into a corner, it's like you got the railroad tracks right there. It would be amazing to actually use that stretch of land along the river. That would be perfect, but you can't because you got railroad tracks there. Mm-hmm. Like, you literally have a perfect stretch of land right behind the Memorial Coliseum, like right by the Moda Center. And you literally can't do anything with it. Like, you could build something absolutely beautiful there in between the Broadway Bridge and whatever the bridge to the south is. I forget the name. But, yeah, so...
What if they put it where the Lloyd Center is?
The arena?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have space around the arena if they built it there. But, like, that's where I think the conversation heads then. It's like... It heads towards, all right, let's just build a new arena so we have the space to put the stuff we want around it. And I feel like that could be something that Tom Dundon pushes for.
Yeah.
Which, like, why wouldn't he? If I was coming in to own the team, I would probably push for the same thing. I'd be like, all right, we got this arena that's 30 years old. It's still in good enough shape, but, like, Concourse's giant slab of concrete. We can spend a bunch of money renovating it, but then, like, the new wave is having an entertainment district around the arena, like having multiple restaurants, bars, like hotels even, right by the arena, like making it a whole experience. And if you can't do that around Moda, if I'm coming in as a new owner, it's like I'm using that to say, like, we need a new arena. It's 30 years old. We can't do anything around it. There's nothing around it. Like, I don't blame him if he comes in and does that and tries to pressure the state to do that. I understand the other side of it is, like, people don't want public funding to go towards that. They want it to be privately funded, and I'm not even ever going to argue with that because it's your tax dollars. Like, you have a say or should have a say with what happens with your tax dollars, and if you don't want it going towards that, that is your prerogative. So that's I don't think that's like something that's going to happen in the next year or two. Like, I don't think he's going to come in as owner of the team and immediately start all this up. But I think like 5 years from now, 4 or 5 years from now, I think that's going to be a conversation. But I don't think it's going to be like or he'll take the team elsewhere conversation. I think it'll be like something that will ultimately get resolved. I just don't know what the resolution is.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. So I went to Phoenix's arena,
Mm-hmm.
but that one is, I think that one's older than,
Yeah.
I think it's been renovated, but I think it's older than Portland's, so not a great judge. I also went to Key Arena before the Sonics moved, and that was an absolute
Mm-hmm.
crap hole. Um, so, and anyone who says that the Moda Center is anywhere close to that is absolutely insane, because that thing's Moda Center is like a palace compared to that. um, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, everywhere else I've been has a new arena, I think. So I'm trying to think of if I've been to any of the newer ones, but yeah. I guess the other thing is they could just strip the Moda Center out and just redo the inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd just be like the concourse. Because I think, like, the Arena Bowl itself is fine. Of course, I'm not a architect or whatever, but, like, I feel like it's just the concourse, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe they'd want to expand the concourse. It's a little narrow and like not have it just be all freaking concrete.
Mm.
Which I I'm behind. It's just that doesn't solve the around the arena thing. And Chris S says they aren't spending $4 billion without already having a development plan in mind. Can't wait to see it. I mean, I'm sure they have things that they want to do, but I don't really fully agree with that because there's only so often an NBA franchise becomes available. There's only 30 of them, right? The Blazers have been sold once. Wait, when did Paul Allen buy it? What year was that?
It was in the late 80s.
Late 80s? Yeah, so in my lifetime, I'm 29 years old. This is literally the first time the Blazers have been sold. So, like, they could absolutely be buying the team just because it's an opportunity that you can't pass up that doesn't come along often, and then they're going to figure it out after the fact.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although I do think they obviously they've been looking into that. They wouldn't just buy the team without some sort of an idea of what they want to accomplish.
But like what they want to accomplish is going to be contingent upon a bunch of stuff with the city and like funding and all sorts of stuff. Like if Portland doesn't get an MLB expansion team, I wonder how the jock tax they passed, if that could then be like used towards the NBA team, like paying for renovations and then taxing the players. The tough thing with that is in MLB you have double the home games and a lot more players. Like salaries are actually relatively comparable, so I guess the players don't matter. I don't really know how like the finances compare, but you do have double the home games and more capacity at what the MLB stadium would be. So I think the result of that would be more funding coming from the taxation of that, which is basically the jock tax. If you don't know, taxes like the taxes that come out of the players' paychecks and the workers' paychecks and taxes that come out of having the MLB team get applied to the cost that it takes to build a stadium, so to say. So it kind of funds itself up to $800 million. Now, that's not as much as the arena would cost for MLB. It costs more than that. But, that's a big part of the funding. So I don't know if that could come into play for the Blazers if MLB doesn't get an expansion team in Portland. It sounds like Salt Lake City's the front runner, and then Nashville's like all but guaranteed. So who knows? Who knows? But like, if they want to build an arena South Waterfront in that spot, I think that spot would make more sense for an NBA arena than an MLB arena, just in terms of the sizing of it all. So the traffic still is a mess, but I don't know. So
yeah, it's See, Moda Center's got the. It might be a kind of a hassle after games in terms of driving traffic, but the fact that it already has the light rail, um, I think that does help a lot to
Yeah.
have that infrastructure already in place. I know you don't necessarily take that to games or ever use Max, but I know a lot of people do use that to get to games.
But if we're talking about
And
like big money projects, can't they kind of alter that or, run that by a stadium? Is that like that intensive financially and funding wise? Or I don't know.
I mean, it probably wouldn't be that bad to get it to that area, but
Well, the Max
it
does run
is.
by South Waterfront.
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes down. Yeah, it does. I
The,
don't
the
think it'd
problem
be
is the
too bad.
street, like the roads going in and out
Yeah,
of there and
dude,
the freeways going in and out of there.
dude, I have to. One of my stops at work is down there,
Yeah.
and it like it's super nice down there.
Hmm.
But like it is a pain to get in and out of. Like, and that's without a stadium
Yeah.
there. So like, I can't imagine putting a stadium in there. Like, it would be impossible logistically to
They'd
work
have to
out right now.
rework
Like,
exits off the freeway and
yeah,
on ramps onto the freeway. But I don't really know how you do that with an interchange there and a bridge there.
yeah.
Like um it
I mean, they
it
have the tram, the OHSU tram there, but like, I don't know, like how, like maybe you could incorporate
I
that down.
think
But like,
everything but the street traffic is great because you got the tram, you got the Tillicum Crossing Bridge, you got the Max. I think all that's great. It's just the roads, like because I'm driving there.
they should really find a way. Portland does such a horrible job of utilizing the water to
I know.
like transport people. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean maybe you could. It's people are gonna want to be able to drive there though, and yeah, you'd have to find a way to mess with that interchange, I think, which I just don't know how much you can do. So, like, that would be a great spot for a stadium. You got the South Waterfront right there. Like, they have the other side of the Tillicum Crossing. You could build a bit of an entertainment district. So, like, and then Lloyd Center, I also think if they, tore down that whole area and wanted to build a stadium there, I think there's enough space there. And I think that's an okay spot because you got I-84 right there. You got I-5 right there. And then the Max runs right by there as well. So, like, you got decent spots around downtown Portland to build a stadium, assuming MLB doesn't actually build there. But it's just like, is that the answer? Is that the best answer for the city? And how does that get funded is always a headache. So we'll see. We'll have probably many years to discuss this. But with new owner coming in, I do wonder what they're going to push for. And I do feel like Silver's comments were to try and set up a new ownership group to push for a new stadium.
Adam Smith asked, "What about building where a current minor league hockey team is?" That's the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. So it's been deemed a war memorial and also a historical architectural design, and so they are not allowed to do anything with that building currently. Like, could they maybe find a way to get past that or around that? Maybe. So that's
Because there's your entertainment district.
yeah.
Like, because I was looking at this the other day, and like, if they could tear that down, like, could they take the tracks off the railroad tracks off the water and like tunnel it underneath and connect build an entertainment district there that connects to the river? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you could get creative with that, but it would give you options. Like, the problem is if you're not tearing that down, you got the tracks along the river. You don't really have options in that direction. You can't tear down the parking garages that are close, because where else are you going to put parking garages? Like, the only, I think, solution there is if you can put like legitimate parking at Portland Public Schools, which is, that building's like 3 blocks away, and I park there all the time. I pay for parking there all the time. Then you could do more kind of in between that and the stadium. I do think like traffic is a little bit rough because you have Broadway running through there, so I don't know, like it's just a tough setup, I think.
Mm-hmm. The other question is, and this is, I think, always been a huge problem, is it a case of if you built something there, like, let's just say they did find a way to put in a whole shopping, entertainment, nightlife thing around Moda Center somehow. Mm-hmm. Is it a case where build it and they will come, or is that area just kind of tricky to, like, how many people are just going to go there on non-game nights and stuff like that?
You have Winterhawks games, you have concerts, like, I think WNBA is going to be there in the summer. I think you'd have enough for sure. Yeah. I mean, like even March Madness for both men's and women's. PK80. I think Gonzaga's going to play Oregon there. Like you can always find ways to fill up a stadium. So that's not something that I would be too worried about. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to have the roads in and out going better, because Common asked where we live. Eric's out past Hillsborough. I'm North Vancouver, Washington. So driving down from me, it's sitting on that exit for sometimes 15 minutes trying to get off I-5. It's kind of it sucks. So
that's what sucks about. That's why I don't go to a lot of games. Is just even taking Max. It's such a pain to get home after the games and then do the show. It's usually like an hour plus to get home, just with all the traffic and stuff. So
yeah, and I know some people are like, put it out in Hillsborough, and it's just like, damn, you want me to take an hour to start the post game show if I ever go to a game? Like, that's not good. Not good. Put it in Vancouver at that rate. We got a waterfront. We can just put it west of our waterfront. There you go. Yeah, that's a terrible idea. I'm joking. But if there's ever a reason to tear down a different historical site, we got Fort Vancouver we can tear down for a stadium. Anyway, all jokes aside, hopefully they figure something out.
But it would be cool. I mean, just follow that blueprint. Obviously it'd be a much bigger scale with the arena, but copy kind of what Vancouver did with their waterfront and just build it out that way. Find an area where you could do that. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the water.
Yeah.
I mean, Moda Center kind of is. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it is at all when you have railroad tracks there,
No, I know.
It's just like this giant barrier, this giant force field. Like,
yeah,
there's water over there, but you're not walking to it. You can't enjoy it. It doesn't matter.
If you come from the south, it's like right there, all the water off the bridge when you're coming across. So
yeah,
it's so weird.
Which makes it even worse. That is freaking force field. Beautiful views of downtown at night. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Like, that would be the magic solution. Is just eliminate the railroad tracks, which obviously is not a viable solution. But yeah, sucks that there's no waterfront there. Anyway, Any other thoughts you want to give on the new ownership group, or you want to move on here?
Just excited to have some new new life into the organization.
Yep.
That'll be fun. And I mean, we give this current group a lot of crap. I think a lot of it's justified. Um, and there's the whole Burt Cold thing. His involvement has been a huge I don't know what the right word is, but like it has been an issue in this organization for a while now, especially since Paul Allen passed away and how much influence he has and all that kind of stuff. It'll just be nice to know in the future that our owner is actually the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, and it's not some like shadow person in the background controlling everything. So definitely looking forward to that. And but Jody, it could have been a lot worse, I think, under Jody. I mean, she hasn't, like, everything we heard prior to Paul Allen passing was that she wanted nothing to do with the team and nothing to do with basketball and all that kind of stuff. And I think she has been okay as an owner. It's just, unfortunately, it's not good enough if you want to like actually contend and win a championship and stuff. So I'm looking forward to having an owner that actually does care about winning a championship and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just don't know how much we're going to be seeing him courtside.
Right. Yeah.
Which listen, I don't need to see the owner there at every game. Like, if he struggles going to games because he's too competitive, I'm cool with that. Cool with that.
I mean, like, honestly, this is maybe a problem, but like, I don't know. I almost prefer to watch games at home too, than go to the arena sometimes. So,
yeah, I get that part of it too. Shout out to Rip City Retro Rich. He donated a while ago, and I forgot to read it off because, in August we get a little rusty with the donations. But appreciate you, Rich, with a $20 donation. Says, the slander of my fake modesty will not be tolerated. LOL. I think the relentless shifting to the left hand and horse/pig was borderline abusive. LOL. Meeting up with Eric was like seeing an old friend for sure. Family was awesome. Thanks. Shout out to Rich. Shout out to Rich abusing Eric in the game of Pig with the left hand. Yeah. And
no, that's not really what got me, but Rich did say he spent a lot of time shooting with both hands, so he was pretty good shooting with his opposite hand, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
should have filmed it. Like, why was this not recorded? I recorded my one-on-one versus Stephen Vaughn where I dusted him off, and you didn't record your game of Pig against Rich. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. We were literally at like a 24-hour fitness and at 8 in the morning.
You got phones.
I know.
You can put the phone at the base of the wall, making you look tall. Yeah, I would have taken anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that would have been great content. Anyway, thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Let's discuss the schedule. So the schedule was dropped on last Thursday. We did a full stream breaking it down. But now we have our full schedule in the Discord with post-game event nights, which are always kind of subject to change, but generally we stick to it. We did this last year. Doing it again this year because it was, I think, a success last year. It was a lot of fun. So we're doing a lot of the same stuff. There's going to be a few new things that are kind of hidden in there. I'm not going to talk about all the event nights or anything, but just kind of want to talk about the schedule, and we can rifle through it. I just want to get Eric's thoughts. So the first thing that I want your thoughts on are the 8 p.m. tip-off times for NBC, which I guess we should have known was because of prime time. But I didn't realize that there was going to be 8 p.m. local time tip-offs, which a lot of these games are on Tuesdays, so I have rec league from 6 to 8 p.m. So I love this. Being able to come home at the start of a game on a Tuesday is great to me, and it seems like a lot of these nationally televised games are at home. But what do you think about the 8 p.m. start times?
I mean, it's fine. It's not that much worse than 7. Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised they do that to the East Coast viewers. That's really late. I mean, I don't think football doesn't ever start that late, does it?
No. I mean, Sunday night and Monday night football is 5:20 p.m. our time. So it's that's the normal slot.
But I get maybe not wanting to have it at 4 to 5 o'clock on West Coast time, the first game starting. So I'm fine with it. I mean, if anything, maybe it gives me an extra hour to take a nap before so I'm okay.
Yeah, for real. Because we got 8 nationally televised games. The NBC ones are all at 8. Well, no, there's one NBC one that's at 5. I think that's at Boston. It was actually up here. Let me find it.
That's
that's
the other
Peacock.
thing too. It wasn't that many games for Portland, so it doesn't really affect us that much. But.
Still, having eight is cool, compared to having 1 each year the last 2 years and it being the same game. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But I think there was one that was the 5 p.m. slot. I'm not sure where. I have all the games listed, NBC, the nationally televised games, in our Discord. So if you're not in our Discord, say you don't really know what Discord is or never have had an account, you can make an account. You can join our Discord because we're going to be doing a lot of this stuff through our Discord, the call-ins we do through our Discord. So for the call-in nights, if you want to call into the show, we're also for channel members. We're going to be running some perks through there this year in terms of being able to submit a video mailbag question. You can record a mailbag question. We'll probably play a couple on each stream just from channel members. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff through our Discord. So now's the time to join it. We're trying to get to 1,000 members. We're at about 900. So make sure you click that link in the description. Even if you don't know what it is, now's the time to learn what Discord is because we're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff. And you have the schedule right here where you can see the times and the dates of every single game. But 2 nationally televised games against the Phoenix Suns. I think there's 2 against the Clippers as well. So I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the game that I'm trying to go to in San Francisco.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
First, it's tough to get tickets. So
yeah, I gotta figure it out. But then you'd have to figure out this. I'd have to figure out this post game show too. Yeah. If I'm at a Niners game. Anyway. That's the schedule.
I went by Levi Stadium. I saw it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been interested in seeing it. I just hear it's very boring.
It's so far out of San Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be like putting Moda Center in Salem. Putting the Blazers Arena in Salem.
Oh, I think it was even longer than that.
Yeah, with traffic.
We putting them in Eugene almost.
Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts on the schedule?
Not really. I mean, people talked about the tough stretch at the beginning or whatever, but I mean,
it's literally just because it's West heavy.
Yeah, we played the same teams, 82 games mostly every year. I mean, a few of them change, but yeah.
Outside of the Jazz and the Pelicans, what team in the West do people view as an easy game? I don't view the Spurs as an easy game. I mean, even the Pelicans, if they're healthy, is not an easy game. So it's like this opening stretch, we do have a game against the Pelicans, we do have a game against the Jazz, but like all the other games are pretty much West teams. So it's so loaded. Like, yeah, of course, because the West is absurd this year. Absurd. I think I think it's kind of wild to have a 10 a.m. tip-off time. Have you ever remembered a 10 a.m. tip-off time other than the last day of the season?
Yeah, we had some early Toronto Raptors games.
Oh, yeah, it's always
a few years ago. Yeah.
But, yeah, we go
I
from...
think we had an early one against the Nets, too.
Yeah, we go from 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. to 10 a.m. So, all over the board. I also thought it was interesting, final day of the season, they pushed back those start times a ton, which I like. I think is the right move. I never understood why they had to start those games so early. Like, who's waking up to watch a basketball game at 10 a.m. if you're not a diehard fan?
I mean, they're trying to do the football thing.
Yeah,
10 a.m. is not early, Tori.
It's not. I mean,
I noticed you.
I wake up. It's not to me. I wake up at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. every morning. But I think, like, I don't know. I think evening is when people normally watch sports. So, I can't scroll all the way down here in the capture.
Like I just said, football is Sunday. 10 to I think that's what their thinking was.
Yeah, they also, like, I think on some weekdays they have some 2 p.m. Pacific times. These are East Coast games, so like 5 p.m. East Coast times to like try and stagger start times. So like it does feel like they're trying to take a page out of the NFL's book with the way they're staggering things and having an 8 p.m. start time on the West Coast, 11 Eastern, and help stagger times as well. Like, do you think that's a good idea? I mean, I kind of think it's worth experimenting, but do you think that'll actually help ratings at all? Because I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think it can hurt, but I don't know. It seems like whenever there's a game on at like a weird time, people watch it, and then you got social media talking about it when it's the only thing on. So I think some of those earlier start times will be good. Might not be good for like in-person attendance necessarily, but I think it'll be good for just like buzz and social media and stuff like that.
Yeah. Final question I have for you on this. First 8 games, what's your record prediction? So we got at home versus the Timberwolves, at home versus the Warriors, on the road versus the Clippers and Lakers, a back-to-back there. At home versus the Jazz, home versus the Nuggets, home versus the Lakers, and then home versus the Thunders. So you have 6 out of 8 home games with a lot of tough games. What is your record prediction for the Blazers in that first 8 game stretch?
I think we're 3-5. We're in good shape.
I think we're 3-5 as well. Well, is that your prediction or is that like
sure 3-5?
Yeah, I think they win one of these first 2 games. Timberwolves, Warriors. I think they beat the Jazz, and then out of the other 5 games, they find a way to win one of them. At Clippers, at Lakers, home versus Nuggets, home versus Lakers, home versus Thunder. That's how they get to 3 wins.
Yeah.
But, I mean, listen, this, I feel like everyone's, it's such a tough schedule. And I feel like that's people being used to having a bad team. A good team looks at this like, we got a bunch of home games to start the year. Like, we're a good team. We should start off pretty hot. This is a great opportunity for the Blazers to either make a statement about what their season's going to be or make fans worry that it's going to be like previous seasons. Because, I mean, home versus the Timberwolves, home versus the Warriors, if the Blazers are actually a legitimate play-in team, like, they should borderline be favored in these games, I think. Home game, like, I think the Timberwolves and Warriors are better, but you're playing at home. So you get that home court advantage. Like, if the Blazers are legit, they should be competitive in both these games, right? On the road versus the Clippers and Lakers, like, if you're a legit team, you should be able to be competitive in at least one of those games. And then you play the Jazz at home, you should absolutely be able to win that. And then Nuggets, Lakers, Thunder at home, like, those are home games against some better teams, but, like, they beat the Nuggets at home last year, the Anthony Simons game winner. The Lakers, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to defend this year. Their defense, I think, is going to be pretty abysmal. And that's Aiton's return game, so he's probably going to be motivated. Or he's going to duck us. One or the other. But, like, would I be shocked if they went 5-3? Honestly, not really, but I think that would be, like, a good statement to start off against the caliber of teams they're playing and be able to start 5-3 and take care of home court. But, like, if they're 2-6 to start the season with 6 home games in their first 8, it's going to be tough to not feel like, oh, man, yeah, see, the last year they just had a good 11-game stretch, and outside of that, they were 26-45. So they have a lot to prove, I think, right at the start of the season with some of the matchups they have.
I guarantee we'll be underdogs in every one of those games except for the Jazz one. So,
well, I mean, people sleep on Portland, so
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I'm not saying they should be favored, but I think, like, if they are legit, like a legit slightly above 500 team, which we're hoping, then it should be a toss-up pretty much these first 2 games.
Not many people are going to think that heading into
well, yeah, I mean, that's
fans. Yeah.
That's what they got to prove, though. Like, basically, my point is they're going to be underdogs, but if they are the type of team, or if they're taking a legitimate step, I feel like we're going to be able to tell pretty early on. And it's not like they can't turn it around, but, like, if they're competitive in these games, that's a good sign. But, like, if they come out on opening night and lose by 40 again, which should not happen, they beat the Timberwolves at home a couple times last year. I think both their home games they beat the Timberwolves at home. So
Timberwolves were kind of hit or miss early this last season too.
Yeah. I think this is just a really interesting opening 8 games for the Blazers to either make a statement about, like, yeah, we're going to take another step beyond the 36-win team we were last year, or, like, just if they look the same as they did at the start of last season over these first 8 games, Chauncey's seat is going to be so hot, and you have the new owner coming in, like...
I don't like playing the Lakers early in the season. Like, that's when LeBron most likely be healthiest. And
Luka's in shape now.
Yeah.
But I mean, DeAndre Ayton, we know he doesn't like to play basketball in October or November.
True.
But he is in a contract year.
He's going to be playing for a contract.
Yeah. So that changes everything. But, yeah, I got some fun stuff planned, so check it out in the Discord.
I don't think he hates us like he hates the Suns, so.
He shouldn't. He wanted to be here. We traded for him, and then he didn't want to be here, and we let him go play with Luka and LeBron. While we paid him a ton of money and, like, catered to his moodiness. He should love us for what we did for him. But
he probably thinks that we should have offered him, like, a max contract extension.
Yeah, he probably thinks that when he came to us and requested a buyout that we should have said, no, DA, please stay. Here's a max contract extension. So he probably feels slighted. Anyway, so let's end this stream. Let's talk about potential trades, actually. Not in terms of, like, targets, names. It's too early for that. But I asked chat at the start of the stream, who's the most likely Blazer to get traded? Robert Williams got, like, 40% of the vote. Jeremy Grant got 35% of the vote. Thibault got the rest, which is like, Robert Williams got 40%. Jeremy Grant got 35%. Thibault got 21%, and only 3% said someone else. So, like, those are the 3 clear-cut guys to potentially be traded this year. What's, like, the most likely type of trade? Let's just start with type of trade. Like, how do you see the season going, and then the Blazers approaching the deadline with a new owner probably in place? I know there's a lot of, like, questions and contingencies, but, like, if you had to guess, what is the trade market and the types of moves going to look like for Portland next year?
I really want to predict that the Blazers struggle a little bit, and it might not even be, like, worse than last year, just kind of similar to last year without the 10 out of 11 game win streak. And then, like, it feels like this season's a little disappointing, And in that case, I could definitely see them and Jrue Holiday wanting out or whatever, and them like finding a way to get him moved to another team. But that's a little bit of a hypothetical situation. So I'll just say, um, I feel like I'm gonna get killed for saying this, but I don't know how ready Young's gonna be to play backup center
Yeah.
minutes, especially to Klingon. And then you're putting a lot of faith in a second year player as well, which you and I both believe in Klingon. So I don't think that's a huge problem. But I feel like Robert Williams is either going to get hurt and have no trade value once again, or he's going to be somewhat playing and we're going to actually need him to be the backup center. So if I had to pick, and then I don't feel like we can trade Jeremy, so I feel like by process of elimination, that puts Matisse as the most likely Blazer to be traded next season.
Yeah, so I don't think Robert Williams is going to get traded at the deadline. It's just going to be hard for him to have value. They haven't traded him yet, even though they might have been able to get a late first in the past. Not sure. But to your reason, I don't think. Yeah. Well, I don't think. I echo your sentiments with Klingon being in year 2, and he's had some injury problems in the past, and then Young Hansen being a rookie. I don't think they're going to trade Robert Williams. I disagree with Chat. I think that's just a good insurance policy to those young bigs, and he actually provides them a little something different defensively, which I think Chauncey's going to value. I know he loves running drop scheme, but I mean, if Chauncey's smart, he'd value having a change at pace defensive option off the bench that's more mobile, right? And we saw Robert Williams have some decent games last year. Like, he's still a good player. So I think with his value on the market, I think he's more valuable to Portland than what they'd trade him for. And I think they're going to feel that way about him. So I don't think he gets traded next year. I also feel like the Blazers aren't going to be in the market for like a depth piece or a role player because of their depth already. I feel like they're happy with their depth. They're happy with their bench. Injuries. Yeah, short of injuries, but I feel like if they're super injured, then they're kind of punting on this season. Like, I don't think they're built to withstand a bunch of injuries. So in that case, I kind of feel like they're just patient at the deadline. I feel like they're not in the market for anyone that's not a really, really good starter, because they have good starters and they have a good bench. They have depth. So the only type of trade I see them being a part of at the deadline is a consolidation trade for a player that's better than the players the Blazers are trading out. And the only type of trade that I see really making sense there is I guess you could trade, Robert Williams III and Thibault for like a Naz Reid caliber backup center or something like that. I just don't think other teams would be willing to make that sort of trade. Like, why water down your bench? Normally that's not something that makes sense for teams to do. You'd have to be have a really good 6th man and then a really bad 8th, 9th, 10th man. Just want a couple rotation players for somebody that's better. Most teams aren't constructed like that. So I think the type of trade that they would make is, if they're good enough and new owner comes in and wants to make a splash, is actually a legitimate swing. I do think there's a couple of different ways that could look like. It could look like packaging Thibault and Robert Williams contracts together. It could look like paying a little bit more on top of Jeremy Grant to get a team to take on his contract, as well as trade him for a better player than Jeremy Grant. I think the only other type of trade I could see them doing is Tom Dundon comes in. Tom Dundon asks a bunch of questions about the salary cap and CBA and looks at their books and says, oh, we could have $50 million in cap space next offseason if we trade Jeremy Grant for an expiring contract. Maybe, Joe, how would you value having $50 million of cap space next offseason? Would you value it more than the 2028 unprotected Orlando first? And based on his answer, he's just going to ask him to justify, all right, why? This is the type of owner he seems like he's like. He's going to ask a bunch of questions like, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? He wants justification for everything, which is fine by me. But, I think Joe doesn't want to attach an asset to get rid of Grant's contract because it makes him look bad because he gave him that contract. But I think there is a chance that maybe Tom Dundon will push him to do so. Where Jody and Burt might not have, with eyes set on having max amount of cap space, even with Jrue Holiday's contract on the books next offseason. It depends on a sharp, extension and Tamani, what they do with them. There's some other factors that will determine their cap space, but I can't rule that out. I don't think it would happen if there wasn't a sale, but part of me wonders if Tom Dundon may push for that a little bit, thinking that, maybe we can get back more value with that cap space than we're giving up to get off of Grant.
Yeah, I don't know. Grant's really well respected, and I still feel like they try to convince him that he's part of the solution.
Yeah, but I mean, a new owner coming in, paying that much money to a guy that's a bench player. We're assuming he's a bench player. I think any new owner that knows anything is going to come in and be like, all right, why is our highest paid player not a top 5 player on this roster? I feel like any owner, I think that transcends sports. Paying that much money to a guy that's not a starter, right, and not one of your key players of where you're headed is a question mark for anybody. So I think even though he's well respected across the NBA, I don't think Tom Dundon's coming in oh, he's well respected, that's why it's worth paying him $37 million out of my pocketbook for him to come off the bench. But I'm purely speculating, but I do wonder if the ownership can maybe switch that situation up a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about him to know if he'd value even going the cap space route, especially if he looks at the history of free agency in Portland.
Yeah, I do think he's going to come in wanting to make a mark, though. He came in and here's the thing. He came in and immediately made a mark on the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So is he going to come in and just be it's a different situation that he's coming into, but is he going to come into this with the attitude we can be patient, blah, blah, blah. Or is he going to come in I want to get this team back to the playoffs, and just like I did with the Hurricanes, they were a conference finals team the first year I came in. Is he going to come in with that attitude and be willing to attach an asset to Jeremy to have max cap space, thinking that he can swing something, or is it Jeremy's contract with some assets for a star? Is that the type of mark he's going to want to make immediately as an owner? I don't know.
I still don't think it makes sense with Dame and Jrue to do that with Jeremy necessarily. I understand it cap wise, but just in terms of, I feel like Grant's going to be included with them, not necessarily he has to go type of thing.
I actually disagree. To an outsider coming in, you got Dame, you got Jrue, you could potentially have near max amount of cap space, and I don't think they come in and the calculation is, oh yeah, instead of having that cap space that we could use on a much better player than Grant, it makes sense to just keep Grant taking up basically all that cap space that we could potentially have to come off the bench.
I think they would do that if they could get off of him for an expiring, but I don't necessarily think they'll look at it as coming in and being oh, I'm just going to give up an asset as good as potentially the
Well, I
unprotected
think
to
you'd
do it.
protect the pick. I
Yeah.
think you try and protect it top 5, top 6, whatever. But I think it comes down to like what's more valuable, that pick versus having whatever cap space they'd have next offseason. What's more valuable to where they're going. And I think bringing in an owner like this, like that's going to be a conversation potentially. Because he seems like the no stones left unturned type of owner. Like he's calling the league office all the time with the NHL. Like Gary Bettman talked about it. So he's not going to leave a stone unturned. And I think that's one of the calculations that is going to have to be made is like, is it worth the risk of giving up the asset? Like how much of an asset would they have to give up? And then do they feel like they could extract more value out of free agency with whatever their plan is compared to hanging on to whatever asset they got? I mean, we literally saw the Grizzlies trade that asset to move up 5 spots. You know, I think you could justify coming into this team as an owner. You could justify like attaching that pick that you literally got for moving down 5 spots to open up possibilities. I don't know. This is where like the new ownership gets super intriguing though. It's just it's I think there's more possibilities that we just don't know of, like what the next move is going to be. I think if he was hands off, then it'd be super predictable. But I think with kind of hearing about how he's hands on, and I think raises these questions for me. Is like, how are they going to approach that? Because especially if he's coming off the bench and he's not playing particularly well, which is kind of my expectation.
I mean, you said the same thing about Jrue too.
Yeah, but like I think Jrue's still going to have value, or he's going to be like net zero value. Like a team will take a flyer on him. Like I think Jrue, it's much easier to say like, hey Sacramento, you're the 10th seed right now and you have nothing going. Like, do you want to make the playoffs?
But that's what I'm saying. You could accomplish the exact same salary situation by doing that.
Yeah, but I think they view Jrue as more of a part of the 2026 season. I think Jrue will be seen as more of a part of that than Jeremy, but it depends on how good Scoot and Sharp look, so I guess that's some dominoes that have to fall.
But Jrue could also decline a little bit and look like Jeremy looked last year.
Yeah, but I still think he's going to be like a clear value add defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing is Jrue does winning things. Like Jeremy doesn't pass, rebound, and his defense is overrated. You know what I mean? Like, and he's an ISO player. Like Jrue just has much better intangibles. So I don't really think it's going to be quite as bad as Jeremy was last year. Because when Jeremy became inefficient, it was like, what do you even do particularly well at all?
But what I'm saying is, if they look at Jrue as being, 30. He'll be 36 next year or whatever. And then you look at it as accomplishing the same cap situation you just talked about, it'd be much easier to move off of him, most likely. So
yeah, but I think as much as it's easier to move off of him is as much as they'd also rather keep him. Like, there's a reason why he's easier to move is because he's a better piece than Jeremy. And that's also why they would rather trade Jeremy at the same time. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, other teams would want Jrue more. The Blazers would want Jrue more. So what's the calculation come deadline time? And is that something... I mean, this is just one, like, branch of the decision tree here is, like, trying to go for cap space next offseason. They could also say, hey, and I would hate this move, but we love Lauri Markkanen. And we think trading Grant and 3 of our firsts for Lauri Markkanen is a great move because we need shooting. Like, I would despise that move, but that could be a decision. Try to come in and, like, get the team back to the playoffs and leave a mark. But, like, that's the thing is I think Dundon's a smart guy. And if he knows basketball, like, he's going to come in. It's going to become obvious. Like, Avdia and Tamani are as good of forwards as you can find for their salaries. They're young. They're the identity. Like, it doesn't make sense to make a Lauri Markkanen type trade. So, I kind of do feel like this deadline will come down to if the Blazers are good enough to be in the playoff play-in race or not. And then if they are there any stars available? Because I feel like it's either go big or go home at this deadline. I kind of feel like there's not going to be like a marginal move. But the Blazers always do what I least expect, so I'm speculating. But it just the way the roster shapes up, it's just like either they're going to be very conservative or very aggressive, and there's not much in between.
I do disagree with that, with Dame being out this year. I do still feel like there is a large need for a shooter, and so I could see a marginal move to get that shooter.
Whose minutes does he take, though, if healthy?
Well, he'd probably be one of the backup forwards. I don't know.
See, but if you're stuck with Grant, and Grant, like, if there's one thing, he's a shooter, 3-point shooter. Hopefully he gets back up to 40%. Yeah, but, like, you're looking at a guy would be coming in to barely play. Like, I mean marginal in terms of, like, sure, they could upgrade the 11th guy, but that's, like, below marginal to me. Like, marginal is, like, bringing in Corey Kispert to play 20 minutes a game. I just feel like they wouldn't want to play Corey Kispert 20 minutes a game, even though I like the idea of Corey Kispert. I've hit that drum this year. It's just like you got your 3 guards, you got your 3 forwards if you're stuck with Grant. There's not many minutes left over at guard or forward, and then you got the center situation the way it is. I think what's funny is, like, if they really wanted to address the shooting need, I know I said I don't expect Robert Williams to get traded this year, but you could make the argument that, like, if the Spurs want to trade Kelly Olynyk for Robert Williams, that makes sense for both teams. Although the Spurs kind of need shooting too, but, like, so you replace Robert Williams with, like, a stretch 5 that's a little worse defensively, but you have other defensive pieces, and you get a stretch 5 at least that can pass a little bit, like, do a little bit offensively as a change of pace to Klingon. I almost feel like that's the only type of marginal move that makes sense. If you're looking to just switch out somebody already in the rotation, I feel like a wing shooter, while it makes a ton of sense for what they need, I just don't think they'll view whoever they would hypothetically trade for to play that role as somebody that would come in and play enough to justify the move.
Yeah, but we're not going to be fully healthy. It's never the case anyway.
True.
So.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, like, this is a bunch of hypotheticals on a bunch of unknown. It's fun to talk about in August, but yeah, like, we'll see what injury. I just, if we're super injured, I just see us being very bad and tanking. Right? And, like, not trading for the shooter. Like, oh, we got Dame coming next year. If we could add a top 3 pick to Dame, I feel like it's very easy to go that route if they have injury issues.
But one injury to Denny, Tamani, or Grant, and we're playing Chris Murray like 30 minutes a game.
Exactly. We'd suck.
But, like, I'm saying, like, there'd be a clear need if you just make one move and get that forward that could step in there.
Yeah, but he'd probably be stepping into a team that's 13th or 14th in the West. Right? Like, if Denny's hurt, like, if Grant's hurt, sure. But, like, if Denny's hurt, or even Tamani's hurt because of how important he is defensively, the Blazers are probably the 13th seed in the West and not close enough to the play-in at the deadline to justify trying to make a move for winning this season. At that point, it becomes a new owner comes in, and he's not going to be as desperate as Jody or Bert to finally see this team make the playoffs. Like, he's coming in fresh. So I feel like if the organization's in that spot where they're the 13th seed because Danny got hurt, and you're looking at the top of this draft coming up and Dame coming in next year, they're just viewing that as like, we could have a top pick to either trade for a legit star to play next to Dame. Like, if Giannis becomes available, all of a sudden they are the absolute front runners to trade for him if they had a top pick in next year's draft, or you just add to the youth movement. You know what I mean? So I just think like that's the buffer. That's the silver lining if there's injury issues this year, is I think like that's one more year of dealing with crappy March and April basketball. But yeah, I guess if it's a bench player, then
next year.
What'd you say?
I mean, if we got one of the top picks next year, I'd be happy with that. That draft is loaded next year.
Yeah.
But here's what happens though: if we didn't make the playoffs this year, we basically have to make the playoffs outside of a trade changing our situation for 2028. We would have to make the playoffs, and Dundon would come in knowing that, seeing that draft pick situation in 2028, we would have to make the playoffs in 2027.
But I think you can address that at the 2027 trade deadline, knowing where your season's going, and it's not like Chicago benefits off of like letting Milwaukee keep their top pick in 2028.
Yeah. It's just
the leverage might be tough, but like, but that's the thing is like, you don't expect if they're bad again this year and are looking at potentially a top pick in the draft, like I don't think they're looking at the next 2 years like, man, we might miss the playoffs the next 2 years as well with Dame and whatever comes of this top pick and this youth movement just because of injuries. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it just leads to a position where like, yeah, they're gonna find a way to be a playoff team, and at the 2027 deadline, if somehow you're still in dire straits, like, then you have to figure out a tough situation to try and get your 2028 pick so you can swap it with Milwaukee. But like, that's more of a unlikely scenario if they are injured and suck again next season. So yeah, I think that's how I'd sum that up.
Yeah, we're
going deep down into the rabbit hole of logical thinking here. I think it's I don't think like, I think it's worse if they're healthy and suck next year than if they deal with a bunch of injuries.
Yeah.
Like, they better be a 35-plus win team if they're healthy, and if they're injured, they're injured. So I just, back to like what started that whole deep dive, I don't think if they're dealing with injuries that are severely impacting their season, like, I don't think they're good enough to be a team that's still trying to win at the deadline.
I kind of think it depends on the injuries, because they do have depth at certain positions, especially the guard situation. I don't know.
If one of the guards gets hurt, who's the third guard then?
I mean, I guess it's Stiebel. I don't know.
Yeah, like, if one of Scoot or Jrue gets hurt, is Denny playing point guard? How does that go? You know what I mean? It's like they're already probably not even a play-in team next year. I'd probably predict them 11th right now. I predict them to be a 39-40 win team and finish 11th in the West. So it's like anything like that, it's just tough. It's just tough to see the season going particularly well.
Dame's gonna match the comeback in like February.
Yeah.
Just good.
I don't know. We'll see. Like, I think the most likely outcome is always somewhere in the middle, I feel like. It's just Blake Wesley. Yeah, no, the Blazers will be, that'll be a problem if he's in the rotation next year, but
yeah.
It's gonna be a storyline in terms of not selling pieces, in terms of potentially buying going into next year's trade deadline if the team is competent enough on the floor. I think the first kind of storyline is, how does Chauncey's offense look like? Can they improve offensively? And then, of course, how elite is the defense? And we'll figure that out early on. And I think, like, you can always make the case, oh, look how much they improved last season. They could always flip a switch midseason. But it's almost like they should not be a team that sucks the first half of the season and flips the switch, because Last season was supposed to be, they started to figure things out and they started building upon something. So you don't just revert back to where you were at. That shows that progress, if anything, wasn't actually legitimate. Like, if it was legitimate progress last season where they legitimately got better and started building an identity, they should be able to continue building upon that going into the start of this season. So, like, the first month, man, I'm not one to, I don't know, like, I don't want to write off a season 20 games in, but I think we'll know what this team is within 20 games. I think we might know what this team is within 10 to 12 games, which normally I don't feel that way going into a year, but like I truly think it's going to be obvious whether they're building upon last season or not pretty quickly.
Yeah, certainly possible. Yeah. I hope things, it's going to be very frustrating if there's a regression back to the way they played prior to breaking out last year. We heard all the talk about, now we're starting at this point. We figured it out, all this stuff. If they really didn't figure anything out and it was just like a lucky stretch or something, that's going to be really... But it's going to suck because everyone's going to think we're negative, but like, we do not want this. We're telling you right now, we do not want that to be the case.
Like, the people that think that already think that. The people that want something to be mad about will find something to be mad about, so whatever. Like, that's the internet for you. But I do think the silver lining in that is I don't think Tom Dundon will stick with Chauncey Billups if... he's been here 4 years. You look at his record, it's awful. The broadcast won't even show it anymore. It's that bad. And then year 5, they have more expectations than they've had in quite some time, and then they come out and fall flat on their face. A new owner coming in, like, there's going to be zero reason for him to keep Chauncey beyond, like, he has an extension that, there's money that has to be paid. But I don't think he's going to care. Like, I think there's no way Chauncey survives this season as coach if they take any sort of a step back outside of like huge injury troubles.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully he doesn't have the injury excuse.
Yeah. But I mean, injured teams still find ways to win games. Like, I will not sit here and just give him excuses because Jrue was hurt this game, so what was he supposed to do when they lose by 20 to Golden State? Like, I'm not with that. That's the thing is, like, they have depth to hopefully, like, I think if Denny or Tamani gets hurt, like, that's a legitimate problem. But, like, I don't like giving a team that's hypothetically deep off the bench the excuse of that. And also, it's like good coaches find ways to put in like players into spots for them to succeed and the team to succeed as a whole when they're down players. I mean, Memphis was a playoff team last year, and you look at Ja played barely more than half the season. That's their best player. So I'm not with the excuses for injuries just off the bat. Like if Denny's hurt and Sharp's hurt and we struggle offensively to make shots, but like we run good offense, that's one thing. But if we're not running good offense in the first place, that's an issue. So that's what we'll discuss all season long. Anyway, anything else you want to get into?
Well, it's good to be back. Nice to see all of you in chat. Nice to talk some Blazers and good things too. It's fun.
Yeah, it's always fun to...
We do not want to talk about negative things, despite what people think.
I mean, I find enjoyment in it. I find enjoyment in the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. So, if I gotta rant, I will always embrace the opportunity that I'm given. So, anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Leave a like on the way out of here. Subscribe if you're new. We got post-game shows all season long. Once again, you can check out our schedule for those on the Discord. Make sure you join our Discord, link in the description box below, so you can participate in call-in nights and other post-game events that we'll have this season. Also become a membership. Also become a channel member. Click the join button below. We'll have members nights this season once again. Those are going to be a little bit more thought out this year. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Looking forward to the season coming up. Always good to have Eric around. So good to have you back. And yeah, we're out of here. We'll catch you again Monday night. We'll find something to talk about. We need a Would You Rather stream, since we always like to do that around end of August or September. So I don't know. I'm starting to run out of ideas for stream titles, Eric. So it might be time to fall back to that soon.
All right. Yeah.
But yep, it's almost September.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good rest of your guys' night, and a good rest of your week until Thursday. I said we're streaming again Monday. I always mix up the days. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Thursday. We'll be live again on Thursday. And until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!